Many cloud failures are not caused by missing features or faulty services or broken infrastructure. They are caused by ownership mismatch. Ownership mismatch happens when responsibility exists in one place, but expectation exists in another. Something is owned by one side, but assumed to be owned by someone else. The system still runs, but it runs incorrectly. Ownership mismatch is not the absence of ownership, it is misalignment. Someone owns the task, someone else expects it to be owned, and the gap between those two beliefs is where failures live. In traditional systems, ownership mismatch was often hidden. Teams were co-located, boundaries were informal, problems were absorbed internally. In the cloud, ownership is explicit, distributed, and externalized, which means mismatch can no longer hide. One of the most common ownership mismatches appears in security. Users expect the provider to secure their applications. Providers expect users to configure security correctly. Both expectations feel reasonable, but only one aligns with actual ownership. The provider secures the platform. The user secures access. When these expectations diverge, exposure occurs. Another frequent mismatch appears in availability. A user expects a service to be highly available by default. The provider offers the capability for high availability, but capability is not ownership. If redundancy is not configured, it is not owned. The mismatch is subtle, but the consequences are severe. Ownership mismatch also shows up in data protection. Users expect backups to exist automatically. Providers expect users to define backup policies. The service works perfectly. Data is stored reliably. But when deletion happens, there is no recovery. Nothing failed. Ownership was simply misplaced. Cost behavior is another common site of ownership mismatch. Users expect costs to remain stable. Providers expect users to manage consumption. The system scales correctly. Resources are allocated as requested. The mismatch appears only when the bill arrives. Again, nothing broke. Ownership expectations did. What makes ownership mismatch dangerous is that both sides often believe they are correct. The provider fulfilled their contract. The user acted reasonably based on assumptions. The system behaved exactly as designed. But design and expectation were not aligned. Ownership mismatch is especially hard to detect because it does not generate errors. No alarms trigger, no logs indicate confusion. Everything appears normal until a boundary is crossed. At that moment, the mismatch becomes visible, but only after damage has occurred. Experienced cloud engineers develop a specific instinct. They look for mismatches before they look for bugs. They ask questions like, who owns this responsibility? Who expects it to be owned? Are those answers the same? This mindset prevents incidents that technical fixes cannot. Documentation is again critical here. Cloud providers describe what they own and what they don't, not to shift blame, but to prevent mismatch. Every clearly defined responsibility is a potential mismatch avoided. Ignoring documentation does not simplify the cloud, it destabilizes it. There is a deeper pattern beneath this. The cloud is a system built on contracts, not intuition. Ownership mismatch occurs when intuition overrides contracts. What feels obvious is often wrong. What is written is usually precise. Once ownership mismatch is eliminated, cloud systems behave consistently. Security decisions are intentional. Availability is engineered. Costs reflect choices. The cloud stops surprising you, not because it became safer, but because ownership expectations finally match reality. In the end, ownership mismatch is not a technical flaw, it is a cognitive one. The cloud does not punish ignorance, it faithfully executes misaligned assumptions. And the price of that execution is paid where ownership was misunderstood.